So this is an alternate universe. And in this universe, you are not a software engineer. You never got into tech. What are you doing to keep the lights on?
Oh, man, I think I would be a DJ. Playing music. I would be a DJ. Just the feeling people get when they're in the room together and they hear a song that they all universally like. And that connectiveness of people on a dance floor moving to the same rhythm. And then the DJ kind of sits at the top and they get to control the vibe. Only the DJ knows what song is coming next. And the DJ can keep it going, you can speed it up, slow it down. And you also get the opportunity to give new artists a chance. Right? You get to break records. And just music is like the soundtrack of our life.
If I weren't a software engineer, I think I would be a detective, you know? And I think that like kind of flows naturally to like, you know, who we are as software engineers, right? Like we're very analytical. Reflect on why that would be the case. First of all, you know, we're all into those like crime drama and the criminal justice system is so interesting. And like just being a detective, it's like you can kind of make an impact on your like local community. And at the same time, apply your skills.
But also like writing and entrepreneurship like appeal to, because with writing, you know, you're purely grappling with these ideas and you're trying to figure out like, well, one, which ideas are true, and then second, like how they fit together. Entrepreneurship, similarly, right? You have to find truth while surviving and bringing something better actively into the world. Like I'm a natural professor. In another world, I would very much be in academia, but I find that there are many structural flaws with the current system.
So one thing that's really unique about being a software engineer is that I actually have more than one skill. So I'm not just a software engineer, but I'm also a systems engineer. And it really derives from my interest as a kid to solve problems and fixing things. So it would definitely be around problem solving, maybe even like mechanic, electrical engineer, mechanical engineer, like building stuff.
Okay, does money matter?
I mean, it depends. Does it matter to you?
Okay, if money matters, I'll obviously find something that pays a lot of money. So most likely like investment banking or med school. If money doesn't matter, music, specifically classical piano and jazz piano.
One of the people in the montage today, his name is Saurabh. Saurabh is a co-founder for a startup known as Rye Protocol. Rye builds developer tools and APIs to build the next generation of e-commerce experiences. Other than that, Saurabh is an awesome person. He's somebody I worked with at one of my previous companies, and Saurabh is one of the people you want on your team. Rye has created a free API that allows developers to access one-click checkout and product data. All of this is to allow the developer to have an easier experience bringing their ideas to life. Not only is he extremely technical, but he's also very kind. I mean, there's so many times I needed his help when I was first starting off, and Saurabh was always willing to help. If you're a software engineer looking to work at a startup with a strong founding team and with a solid engineering culture, Rye is hiring and the link is below. Bobby is your favorite IC's favorite IC. You know when you enter a room, some people are like thermometers. They just adjust to the temperature of those around them. And then some people are like thermostats. They adjust the temperature of those around them. They help to raise the temperature of the room. Bobby raises the temperature of a room. If you are having a bad day, talking to Bobby automatically makes your day better. Now he wants to equip the next generation of engineers with the abilities and skills to succeed in the industry. When it comes to your career, what do you think are some of the key decisions or North Stars that have helped guide you?
If I had to kind of boil it down to one big decision, I think it was the decision to be visible. You know, be visible outside of just the resume, outside of the job, the HR title. And when I ever went to my very first meetup and I decided to kind of go up there, it was a Python meetup. It was at Georgia Tech in Atlanta around maybe 2006, 2007. I just got the courage just to go on stage and just give a meetup to this very small audience. Maybe there's only 25, 30 people in the room. And I decided to go on stage and just kind of show off the things that I was learning. And I got comfortable learning in public. And so what that means is that I never worried about necessarily being the expert. And I was being okay with like, there's a new thing and I'm in the midst of learning it. I'm going to volunteer to try to explain it to other people. And if they say, hey, you don't know what you're talking about, I was okay with that. It's like, okay, so what am I missing? And then I would use that information to just get better at my craft. And I always found teaching as part of the feedback loop. So learn a new set of skills, apply those skills on the job, but then master those skills by teaching it to people inside and outside. And so that has given me the opportunity to start contributing to open source. You know, at work, there's a sort of tools that you're expected to use. Open source contributions at that time were not a job requirement for most companies. And so I decided, hey, when I leave work, I would go and invest in myself again, being visible. And so I would just pick an open source project. My very first open source project was the Python programming language. I decided to contribute to distutils and virtual env. These are like package and environment management tools for Python. And so contributing to that world, it just opened me up to a whole bunch of people that were really influential into tech. So I think that one, and then of course that transforms itself into public speaking. And again, you become the North Star for a lot of people in terms of thinking about these things, the analogies, putting those things into perspective. And what I learned from doing all of that career-wise was people stopped asking me for a resume. People felt like they knew who I was. They're like, hey, we know how you think about these things. We can look at your GitHub repository and see your contributions to the various open source projects and even the project that you've created yourself. And so I started to have this living resume where people kind of knew who I was, they knew what I could bring to the table, and they knew that I will always continue to learn and push things forward. So I think that was the best decision I made, was being visible.
Went, to Reddit, and after Reddit, I went to Google, then back to Reddit, right? I think my first go around at Reddit, I would say, is the best career decision for myself. Namely, I was kind of put in a position where it's like, a lot of things are like not defined for you. A lot of, things built on sticks and stones, right? And you're kind of forced to kind of do design docs. And that was something I've not done before. And I really like that. And later on in the year, I ended up getting an intern. And so a little bit of mentorship, and I ended up getting him hired, which is nice. So yes, I would say that was the best decision. A little bit riskier than my previous stuff, but being in a position where you build a lot of stuff as an engineer, I find that very valuable.
The best career decision I ever made. So this is probably like something that takes a few years for you to catch on. And it's something that if you get it when you first start your career, it's something you'll carry you throughout. So in terms of my career length, I've been doing this for about 20 years. So I started way back in 2002. And I started at probably the lowest, place in the ladder in terms of just answering the phone as a help desk, almost like customer support, supporting people with computers. Is that number one, learn to learn to learn, right? It's like that ability to learn has carried me so far that now I enjoy to learn. And that's the other thing, not just learning to learn, but learning to love to learn. Because everything that I used to work on has either been deprecated, has either been rewritten, things start from scratch. But every time I get a chance to learn something new, it's something that's going to be impactful for my long-term journey. And if you don't pick up the skill in terms of learning to learn, you will only get stuck back to where you're at.
Joining Reddit at the scale that I did, really helped me early on to put myself around these really smart people who were growing this company, was growing very quickly at the time. So that was really great. But when I was at Reddit, right, especially my later years at Reddit, for context, I was at Reddit for 6 years. I think kind of later in my career, I knew I wanted to eventually start my own company. So a lot of the work I did there was actually networking with a lot of folks, spending a lot of time with product managers and program managers, technical managers, with directors, with people at different levels within the technical field, outside the technical field. So I think doing that helps you push your own kind of creative boundaries and build kind of a diverse perspective of the field, figure out what all the hats that you have to wear. And now as a co-founder of this company, I have to wear all those hats. Best career decision is know what you want to do. And I had the privilege, or I had some conviction of what I want to do, and some people don't. So go explore what you want to do. And I think if you can, then you can make trade-offs. So for example, I made trade-offs. I'm I didn't really, once I became a staff engineer, I didn't really care about anything else. That was kind of my goal of hey, I've attained all the software knowledge. I don't really care about anything else. I'm just going to focus on all the other things that I care about.
I think it was probably just joining Synthesis. Like I was working at this smaller microschooling company that operated out of the Seattle area. There was sort of not much for me to learn because I was already like the best programmer there. I was the only programmer there. I was like 11 months in, and I had just assured the CEO that I was going to stay for another long while. And I got an offer from Synthesis. Did what I could to not completely burn the bridge, but I left. Yeah, no, I think just sort of the career decision to do that has been very important. Separately, at one point, I was being kind of an asshole, and someone took me aside and was like, don't be an asshole. It doesn't gain you anything, right? It just is like a total net negative, right? Everyone's worse off when you're being an asshole, so don't do it. And also, social skills are a thing that can be learned, and you should learn them. And here's some ways to learn them. I am forever grateful to that person.